KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're
the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Oh my! This was
Look at that! Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It looks like the Keystone Cops.
You know when you go to the circus and the cops are getting out of the car? The clown cops getting out of the car.
That's right.
That's
what was going on
Well,
here.
I'm Mr. Kelso. I'm so glad you can make it this morning.
Absolutely. You know, I was watching Rock of Ages, and Stacey Jacks sort of showed me it's very important to show up fashionably late. So,
yeah, that's not working for us. Anyway, and Joe, how are you this morning?
I am awesome. I had a fantastic time with the family at the beach and just enjoying some great nights. And the wife and family is usually there for a week, and I come back on Monday and let them enjoy that time. And I had to go back. I was going stir crazy. So Thursday night I headed back out again and enjoyed the last night out there.
Yeah, he said time on the beach editing last week's show on the beach. So I'm not getting that piece. And of course, I was in Chicago for about 3 days. 71 degrees. That was kind of nice to break, but come October time, I'm sure I'm so happy to be back in Houston. So.
And I was just around here working all week.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, well, Joe, what we got going on today?
We have a super fun show. I'm genuinely looking forward to this show. I know there's going to be a lot of really good content. We've got some really cool experts on the show today. This whole show is all about home improvement. So all you guys out there that were planning those projects to start up around the house, man, now's the time to call into the show because we've got every expert here that you would need to have at your ready for such projects. We've got everything from exterior home improvement, home remodeling, interior, staging, design, decorating type stuff, home inspection. Once you jack that house up all and you need to know if it's going to pass inspection or not, well, you even got that covered. So don't cut any holes in your cat door. I mean, make cat doors in your garage door. I can already tell you that
let's
one.
not forget about getting those old moldy smells out of your house. That
and
old
the old moldy smells. That's right.
It just so happens we have somebody that can address each one of those issues
Vaughn.
today.
Yes, good morning.
I'm looking to the right. Vaughn's to my left, so I've already forgotten him. That's terrible.
So, Joe, introduce our first guest.
Well, our first guest, we're starting on the inside of the house, so we're going to have Miss Tish Lyn. Tish, say hello. Let everybody know who you are, who you're with, and all that sort of thing.
Good morning. It is great to be here again. My name is Tish Rayford. I own Show Condition Home Staging. And we are one of the largest full-service home staging companies in the Houston area. And it is just awesome to be a member of this group. And
she had to think for a second there.
This pack.
This group of convicts.
The bad boys of Christian radio.
Yes.
Oh.
And we also have to mention, Tish has been on the show before and did such a phenomenal job that we had our people stalk her until she agreed to be a sponsor for the show. And so now you can add that to your claim to fame, put it on the resume. You are officially a Real Estate Rat Pack radio show sponsor.
And expert guest, and so you've been officially rat packed as well.
Yes.
I can't think of any other way to get packed.
There we go. Wow. Okay, moving on.
There. Please, let's not go there.
Another station.
It's early. I need more coffee.
Let's talk about the first point of contact, Tish, is when do people call you?
Well, the best time to call me is before you ever put your house on the market. We've got the majority of our business comes from realtors, and it's really cool because working with a savvy realtor is great for a seller because of the fact that that savvy realtor is going to have built a team that includes not only professional photographers, a professional home stager, a professional inspectors, professional just about anything that you might need. That's what a professional realtor does for you, and so that's why they pull my company in as part of their team, and that's what you want when you're looking for quality real estate. Our business, we get a lot of call-ins, direct calls is what we call them, direct clients. And those clients, we are then able to usually recommend several of our realtors. I hand them a list, and then they start making selections.
And I hope I'm on that
there.
list now.
Yes, dear, you're on the list.
Okay.
It's okay, honey.
Oh, you're on the list.
I'm not going to say which list.
Yeah.
Though. Okay.
FBI most wanted, but just saying.
So we're talking about home improvement today. One of the first things that clients ask me typically when I walk in a house is, don't you love my lime green and fuchsia faux painted walls? And what do you think the potential buyers are going to think of that? And I tend to take a deep breath and say, that is a uniquely individual design choice, and I can see that you really, it matches the rest of your decor beautifully. And but let's talk about how to make it appeal to those who may not have quite the discerning taste that you have. And so we often pull in contractors. We've got painters and all kinds of folks.
I've just learned that discerning taste is another word for colorblind.
Yeah, that's the reason we want home stagers, us realtors, is because we don't want to be the person that tells them their house is ugly.
Right, or that it stinks, or that, all the other 9,000 things that it takes about 2 hours to go through a house and explain to a client. And you guys don't want to take that time either. Why should you get all detailed?
No, we want to look
that?
like the good guys. We're going to let you look like the bad guy.
Well, that's a good home stager's main job is to make their realtor look like a hero in any of the transactions they do.
Now, do you ever get involved with someone who might be a direct contact that comes and says, I'm not putting my house on the market, but I don't like what I'm living in right now. I'd like to maybe tie everything together. And what do you suggest? Do you ever get those type of clients?
You mean people that aren't selling?
They're not selling, but they want to improve their house.
Absolutely, yeah. We get lots of those. I'm working with 3 different clients right now. We call that restyle or redesign, and yes, absolutely. And that's when, if you like purple and fuchsia faux painted walls, you bet, baby, it's your house. Let's do it to it.
And so you typically would consult with them, talk about what they want to do, and of course talk about their budgetary constraints and things of that nature. Of course, this is a lot about remodeling today. So do you ever get into that aspect of, if you're going to do this, we need to do some other things that are bigger in scope than just moving furniture and painting walls?
Well, a lot of times if they're wanting to talk about really upgrading their home, absolutely, we'll go with them to the design centers, whether it's one of the local home improvement stores or one of the local flooring stores or whatever. We'll accompany them and help them make those design choices so that they end up with a cohesive final product. Now, as far as a home stager, as far as going in and saying, okay, let's knock down this wall, let's move that room to here, or change this bathroom, or those type of wholesale construction details, we really don't get into that. That's more in the interior design, interior decorator field. And so we try to stay away with that. Home stagers, typically, we try to work with you with what you have to make what you have just better.
Gotcha. So what are the typical changes that when they come in to restyle a home, what are the typical things they want to do first?
Almost inevitably, the first question is paint choices, paint colors. They are tired of the boring beige and the ugly white, the builder white, and so, but they're afraid of color. I tell my clients all the time, people love color, they just don't like other people's color.
That's right.
So it's real important that I sit down with them and spend some time and look around their home, and pretty soon a color palette starts emerging from the things that they've purchased, and obviously they love that color or they wouldn't have been drawn to purchasing those items.
Interesting. What about when you walk to some of the major things that people enjoy, of course, kitchen and baths. Mm-hmm. When you get in there and talk about restyling something like a kitchen, what are the things that they most often do?
Kitchens, we talk about countertops. We talk about actually ripping out the whole kitchen and starting from the studs out. And they typically go to a specific kitchen designing facility, and we help them choose their finishes and their cabinet styles. We talk about function in the room and, what they actually do with it. Myself, I don't typically do much domestic, so the kitchen is my husband's domain. And when we decided to redo our kitchen, he got a lot of input on how it got redone. And so I do that with my clients. I allow them to tell me, how do you really want to use this kitchen? Do you entertain a lot? Do you have a lot of family gatherings and things like that? And that's how we decide which new countertops to put in, which new cabinets, whether we want an island or an eat-in kitchen counter or whatever. Is there in that arena, in the kitchen arena, the kitchen and bath? I think a lot of people know this aspect of real estate, that those are the two primary areas that people look at for upgrades and that type of thing. So it always adds a lot of value to the house when you're doing those kind of things. Well, what about the person that's on the budget? I mean, I've looked at, just walking through Home Depot, my second home, and you could easily spend several $1,000s in the blink of an eye. And just scratch the surface on kitchen remodels. Is there something that, for the person that's looking to upgrade and that type of thing, do you get into advising them on affordable upgrades and things that they can do? Absolutely, yeah. We there are a lot of ways of upgrading your kitchen without spending a whole huge budget on it. The coolest thing is for those who really can't afford that granite countertops, but they want that granite countertop look. There are some amazing rolled Formica products that you can go to either of the major box home improvement centers and see displays of. The products are unbelievable. If you stand back, it's hard sometimes to tell that they aren't actually granite. They come with the bullnose edge, with the OG edge, with any of those finishes that the granite countertops come with. Excellent.
And so you pull together a team as well, then. Yes. So you've got a team of people that when you have something, a go-to person, absolutely, kitchens, baths, painting, and things like that. Absolutely. So what do you look for in those contractors? I look for individuals who are mostly. I like to deal with the individual owners. I like sole proprietorships who have also worked hard to pull together businesses. They have to have a background. They have to come with references. I have to see their work. I can't just take somebody else's, say, oh, yeah, they did a good job. I want to go and see what they've done and talk to their references myself to ensure that my clients are not getting stuck with someone who is going to be a fly-by-night contractor and going to get it half done and then disappear on them. Yeah, and your name's on that. Absolutely. I see Shane Hawkins over there raising his hands. He goes, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. And you absolutely have to, because one of the things is you can't take someone's word for it. You've got to go look at the work. And not only just the work, because I know people put out good work, but, can they do it in the time frame that you've put out there? And that's part of the requirement for the people that I have on my suggested vendors list is that they have to provide my clients not only preferred pricing, but preferred scheduling. It's just a major requirement to be on my list. So, go ahead, please. I was just going to say, so, in each arena, I think there may be unique ways to find qualified people. What's a quick way, if you toss out, if somebody's going to look for a home stager, home decorator, whatever, all the titles that you can slap behind your name, how can they find a good one of those, and real quick, and then tell us how to get a hold of you, because we're almost up against the break. The best way to find a qualified home stager in your area is go to stagedhomes.com. And they have an extensive database of home stagers in the whole area, and I'm an accredited home staging professional, an ASP. And so you can get a hold of me, and I can help direct you if you want to by calling me at 832-816-5235, and that's Show Condition Home Staging. We work predominantly the south part of down south of Houston, Pearland, Dickinson, League City, but we'll go just about anywhere to do a consultation to help you figure out how to get started. Outstanding. Well, since you are a sponsor of the show, you can also be found on the realestateratpack.com website, on the Real Estate Rat Pack Facebook page, all places Real Estate Rat Pack. I'm so honored. The music is kicked in. We are already flying through the show. So if you're out there, you want to call in 800-808-5548 to talk to our experts. If you're planning that project, now's the time to call in. We'll be right back. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808 5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. That is always a great intro back in. And then more importantly, I always really enjoy the Anderson Properties commercial as well, by the way.
Thank you.
So that's really good. One of the things we're talking about today, obviously, is home improvement and everything associated with that. So one of the things I wanted to sort of segue in on this one is, according to Remodeling Magazine, there's actually some interesting information out there. A lot of those individuals who are doing do-it-yourself items or remodeling, or who just want to go forward and contract with somebody to do it. Some simple things, and I thought this was pretty interesting, is some of the things that yield the highest return on investment are the following. Number one is entry door replacement. That's the highest one on the list at 85.6%. Then you've got deck addition on the outside, 77.3%. Garage door replacement, believe it or not, for 75%. Minor kitchen remodeling. And minor kitchen remodeling, a lot of times what they're having to do is either restaining or appliances. That's about 75%. Window replacement, again, is about a 73% return on investment. Adding a bedroom to either an attic and or just adding a bedroom right there is going to have a return on investment of about 73%. Siding replacement, 72%. Window replacement, again, 71%. And then a major kitchen remodeling is about 68%. So those are your top return on investments when it comes to remodeling of anything.
And I also want to mention that we always talk about the investment aspect of a home. Remember, a home is also about enjoying it. It's where you bring your family and friends to enjoy. So if you want to enjoy your home more, and remodeling it is going to help you do that, if it had no return, it's still worth it. In fact, when you go put it in a swimming pool, you better just do it because you're enjoying having a swimming pool.
Absolutely.
The return on swimming pools is abysmal.
Probably like 20%.
And I always tell people, if you want a free swimming pool, buy a resale home with one in it.
Yes.
They might get a $5,000 extra for having a pool in it. So.
Well, and you're right, though. That's definitely for the enjoyment. An average pool that's costing $50,000 to $60,000 in today's market only adds about $20,000 in value to a property. So there are definitely things you do to your home that are just to enjoy the property. It's not really the return on investment. However, that being said, I do always like to preach the financial responsibility of anything. And everybody know it's important to be able to live there, but also know that any over-improvement you do on your property, you aren't necessarily going to get all the money out of it.
Well, you know, when you bring up the list, this is actually a great one. For my house is built in 91, so it's got a little age behind it now. It's getting to that point where, you know, stuff needs to be fixed and maintained.
You need to sell it and buy a new one for Kim.
Every week. I can't mention my house without it being, you got to sell it. But you went down that list, and I'm like, new front door? Yeah, actually, I want to do that. Garage doors? Yeah, I got one of them that needs to be repaired. You know, you just kind of go down that list. And at the end of the day, there's only so much money to go around.
Right.
I can't do all of the projects. You know what I'm saying? I mean, without going broke. I mean, Kim would you know, say I could, but...
Or she'd say it would be easier if we just got a new house.
Yeah, you know. So I'm looking at, can I do a front door replacement? You know, when I'm considering, hey, I've got $1,000, $2,000 in the bank to throw at a little project around the house or something, and I have a lot of things that need to get done, it is good to know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that front door, hey, I that wasn't on my radar, although my front door is, you know, like, we had, I think it was Hurricane Ike. I don't know, Hurricane Ike must have came with, like, sand, because my front door was just sandblasted after that hurricane. I had, like, no finish on the front door at all after that hurricane. So I had to take this door down, restain it, refinish, and I did all that myself, and it came out pretty good. But now I'm looking, you know, hey, that's actually an interesting thing to know, that's a good return on investment, is to do a front door remodel entryway thing.
Well, not only that, some of the costs associated with it. You know, the average entry door replacement, $1,000. The average garage door replacement, $1,400. You know, so a lot of those things right there, you also go out there. It's not very expensive items that you can do that also add some good value to your property.
Absolutely. And so, you know, on the kitchen thing, you know, my wife is like a little Martha Stewart. She bought one of those kitchen cabinet restaining kits and redid all the kitchen cabinets. And we had those straight out of the 80s, you know, the orangey colored cabinets, you know, and the horrible looking hardware, again, like straight out of the late 80s, you know, early 90s. And she bought this nice chocolate brown stain and redid all the I was absolutely amazed. I was seriously impressed. I was like, you're going to paint the cabinets? In my head, there was nothing that was going to be good about that. And it came out amazing. I mean, she did a really good job. She actually redid all the cabinets in the house over the last couple of months. and did a phenomenal job. So now I need new countertops. So, Tish, I need to talk to you and about what to pick out, and Shane about installing them. So that's a good segue, Shane.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't stress enough the importance of small projects to homes, especially homeowners that have, at this point, no intention of moving. They want to stay in the home. A smaller project is a great way to basically interview your contractor.
That's a good point.
Tish spoke earlier about know your contractor. You got a guy that comes out with picture books. Hey, anybody can jump on the internet, pull some pictures out, slap them in a book, and say, hey, we do great work, right? Well, you also want to do some research of that contractor.
Tell us a little bit about that. How if I'm gonna hire you, Shane, I've never met you before, and I want to make sure that I'm getting a qualified contractor, somebody who is not going to take my deposit and go to buy tools, and then
that happens all the time.
And then I won't see him for a week because he's trying to close the next job so he can get enough money to buy my materials. How do I avoid that guy and find you?
There are a lot of consumer reports out there on the internet. I just dug up a couple of them the other day, and I posted those on my Facebook page. Basically, you just want to go about talking to the realtors that like Rob Cook, get some suggestions from people, interview the contractor. If he's going to come out there and put a $1,000 door on your home, you better make sure you get the highest quality door that you can get.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of great people that custom build these doors. You don't just have to go to your major lumber companies that you see dotted along the highway to get the doors. You also want to interview the contractor. Okay, how is this door going to be replaced? What are the steps that you're going to take? And hey, you can also actually Google anywhere door replacements, door installments. How do they do it? Watch the guy while he's doing it. Make sure that he's taking care of your investment, because ultimately what I've found over the last 20 some odd years I've been in the industry is that your home is your greatest investment. It's probably the most money you will ever spend in your life is on your home. So like what Joe said, his wife restained her cabinets. I say that is a lot of bang for a little bit of buck.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's awesome that people can empower themselves to get out there and do it yourself. But the larger projects such as kitchen, quote unquote, remodeling, ripping out cabinets, ripping up your floors, you want to make sure that you get the right contractor and doing your research. You can call me if you like. I can come out and make suggestions. It's all free of charge. And if I fit your needs, great. If not, I can pass you on to somebody who can fit your needs. And it's all about people helping people.
I would absolutely agree.
Well,
and I like the fact what you said about the smaller projects, using it as the interview process. Very, very intuitive way of saying things, because, a lot of times there are smaller projects out there. Individuals, as Joe was talking about, you want to do some other projects that are really big. You want to do a massive kitchen remodel. You want to do, maybe an outdoor kitchen with a gazebo, etc. But you want to start off with something smaller. And so it's a great way and it also allows them to enable themselves to ease into that transition of remodeling their home.
Really a brilliant idea. We watched one of our friends' dog at one point, who apparently was absolutely not happy with being put in the backyard, and insisted on being in the house, and was going to chew their way into the house in order to be there. So all of the siding around the bottom of my back patio has little edges of it missing, because the dog just said, "Hey, I'm coming in through this way," and it just chewed pieces of it off all the way. Is that a big project? No. Have I gotten around to it? No. That's a good idea. That would be a little project example that would be a good interview process. Kind of, hey, get this siding done, just get it repainted for me, and we'll see how it goes. And then I can move on to my front door and garage door and kitchen countertops.
All the other 53 items that you
yes.
got.
Right. Well, a lot of times what I always kind of likened it to was a home improvement project, no matter how grand the scale or how small the scale can be, it's like eating a pie. You don't just take a pie out of your refrigerator and shove it in your throat.
Right.
You cut it up into slices.
Oh.
It's comfortable for you. That's what you're supposed to do, Joe.
No one ever explained that to Joe.
What? What? There's another way.
You just basically what you want to do is find a contractor that has your best interests in mind.
Right.
They may come in and say, "Oh, you need all of this done, and this is what I can do it for," or they may say, "Hey, look, if this was my home, I would do my door. I would start with my door. You take a look at the quality that we provide. That way you know who to trust when it comes time to doing a larger project. And to me, I think that's more important is the trust factor.
Absolutely. And what are some of the major changes that you're seeing out there? What are some of the major remodel jobs that people are most interested in today?
Right now, it would probably, I would say, the kitchens and the master bathrooms. They've got old, outdated cabinets. They don't know that they can actually restain their cabinets. They've got, like Tish was saying, the old green walls. Some of those painting projects can turn out to be a serious task.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a home yesterday. It was 16-foot walls. You need a professional painter to come in there and handle that for you. One of the biggest, easiest, fastest ways of getting hurt is to get up on a ladder.
Right.
And as a homeowner, that can be pretty...
Step away from the ladder.
Yes. Right. I have a torn MCL because of a ladder.
Really?
Shane, I want to ask you a question about, it's a very stressful time to live in a house that's being remodeled. How do you counsel your clients? We're about to do this thing, and you know what? You're not going to be able to live in your house the same way as you have been living.
Folks, I hope you like fast food. No, basically what we try to do is we try to structure it around the way that people live. If you need both of your bathrooms remodeled, we'll take one. We'll start and finish there, and then we'll move into the other, start and finish there. Your kitchen, that can be a completely, totally different story. You may want to get used to the possibility of eating out.
Since I don't cook, I'm very used to that possibility.
Right. And in as much as the way we try to structure those is how can we get this done as quickly as possible? And just like Tish was saying, you want to make sure that you have a scope of work. You want it in writing when this is going to be started, when this is going to be completed, and have your contractor stick to that. You don't have a 4-hour contractor a day. That doesn't work.
Shane, we are coming up against a hard break. Please let everybody know how to get a hold of you so that we can get some of these small projects knocked out.
Well, my name's Shane Hawkins. I own Hawkins Home Improvement. You can look me up on Facebook at Hawkins Home Improvement, or you can call me directly at 832-881-3481. I'd be happy to get out there and help you with any type of decision that you need to make.
Outstanding. Well, guys, as always, it's flying by. We are up against a hard break. We will be right back after our sponsor's message.
You know when that shark bites with its teeth, baby.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. Yes, welcome back to the really big Rat Pack show. We're talking about all things home improvement, and man, we've got some phenomenal experts in the studio. Every segment just blazes by.
We need a longer show.
I'm telling you, man, we've got home and staging, home interior decoration experts. We've got home remodeling experts. We've got smell remediation for those unusual pets and cigar smokers out there and everything else that comes along with that one. And that's what we have up next, Mr. Vaughan Pederson. But we've got a call on the line. I believe we've got Cindy that's wanting to post a question here. So, Cindy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
We understand you have a question for some of our experts, so fire away.
Okay. Well, first of all, Chris and I have a mutual friend, and he needs Chris's help filling out a BARF.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure what that is.
Filling out a say that again?
The BARF. B-A-R-F.
Bars. Filling out the bars.
B-A-R-F.
Barf. Uh-oh.
But seriously, my question is, I want to repaint my kitchen cabinets.
All right.
And right now they are painted with a white oil base, and I want to paint them bright white. What do I need to do?
Oil. Okay, so Shane, hop on the mic there. And did you hear the question, Shane? You got it?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay.
If you're going to have to go back with oil base. If you try to paint over anything with that, it's just going to water. It's going to peel off. If you actually do get it to stick for some time, it will peel off eventually. Or you can have somebody come by or do it yourself. Just pull the door fronts off and sand them. That's basically, or you can do, if you just don't want to paint, you can do a basic, overhaul of your cabinets just by replacing the door fronts and the drawer fronts and the cabinet fronts.
Yeah, I also want to replace all of my hardware too.
Right, yeah. And that happens a lot,
So it's a doable thing, Shane, just to get it. She has to have to go over it with an oil-based paint.
Correct.
Okay. And I've seen it done the other way, and I promise you, after about a year or 2 years, it will all be peeling if you don't do it correctly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's paint. It has to be oil-based if you already have oil-based, and you don't want to go to the expense and trouble of sanding it off.
Okay. But my cabinet doors are very detailed. They have like a lot of molding on them. So would I just lightly sand them?
You would if you're not going to go back with oil base. Yeah, you would definitely need to sand them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You betcha.
Thanks for the call, Cindy. As we said, we've got some great experts in the studio to answer some of those questions. So give us a call if you want to ask some of your remodeling questions, your decorating questions, 800-808-5548. Well, we have a really cool new sponsor to our show as well. You've been on before, so we're super glad to have you with us. A very awesome service from all sorts of interesting perspectives, dealing with smells. And not just dealing with smells. I mean, that's obviously a big part of what you do, but there's health aspects to what you do as well that is really fascinating. My wife has always suffered from a lot of allergies, and that's a hot button for us. So when we start talking about what you do, it's really fascinating to me. So bring everybody up to speed, Vaughan. Tell us a little bit about Clean Air Services.
Good morning. I'm Vaughan Pederson, and my company is Clean Air Services. I provide a service treatment. It's an EPA green-friendly service treatment to eliminate smoke, mold, and odor. If you think about it, the air that you're breathing in your home right now, 60 seconds ago, it was someplace horrible.
Great.
What happens, think about the glass of tea that you order in a restaurant. By the time you get the tea to your table, the condensation on the outside of that glass of tea is running down and all over the placemat in front of you. This happens in our ductwork in Houston because when the cold air from the air conditioner shocks the ductwork when your AC cycles and it's hot outside like it is today, we get condensation in our ductwork. We all do. There's condensation in the AC plenum. And things start growing in there because we're pulling in fresh air from outside. We're circulating other air. The things growing in our ductwork are never roses and tulips. It's always something bad. So the air that we're breathing has just passed through there. And what I do is I provide a service treatment that not only eliminates surface contamination inside the duct, the plenum, and the AC unit, but it eliminates airborne contamination. So all the things floating around in your house that are giving your kids problems with asthma or allergies or other problems, that's what I do. That's what I take care of, and one treatment will last at least a year. How expensive is that? Generally, most houses are $550, a lot less than a trip to an allergist and having to pay for all the tests and have little holes poked in your skin and everything else. So
now, Vaughan, there's a lot of confusion because there are a lot of people out there who do duct cleaning. What you do is not duct cleaning. So kind of explain the process.
Certainly. Duct cleaning usually involves brushing out the ductwork or vacuuming out ducts. And I don't recommend that because when you run a brush through there, two things happen. One thing is it stirs everything up and makes it worse. The second thing is the tape joints in those ducts can actually come apart. And when you break the tape joints in your ductwork, now you've got real problems. What I do is I use electrocatalytic technology, which is a fancy word for a fumigation process. So the sterilizing medium flows through the house, through the ductwork, through the return air, cleans the plenum, and sterilizes the air and the surfaces in your home, including the ductwork. So this is something that really provides a very high level of cleanliness in your home. In fact, doctors recommend me. On my website, you'll find recommendations from doctors and other people saying that this is the way to do it. This is the way to make it happen.
And you're saying one treatment will last 1 year?
At least a year. In many cases, I treat a house and I don't come back for several years.
Wow.
So it just kind of depends on. Now, I also do a lot of work in the area of Tish and I were talking about a home that they've had a lot of dogs in. And when you have dogs and cats in a home, you get cat dander, which is one thing I can get rid of. But you also get the bacteria from dogs and cats eliminating in the house. And that bacteria goes throughout the house. And I've had people call me and say, we painted this house, we recarpeted this house, and we go in there, it still smells like cats. What do I do? Well, the reason it still smells like cats is the sporulation of that bacteria has gone everywhere. And it's in the walls, it's in the paint. Paint dries porous. So this bacteria goes everywhere, and my surface treatment will eliminate that from every porous area in the house. So all the surfaces, all the air is actually sterilized. I do this treatment for people that are undergoing cancer treatments because they just don't have an immune system that will protect themselves. I do this for homes where families have children with asthma, allergies, other problems like that. So this is a real broadband type of sterilization that really takes care of these things. Shane and I were talking earlier about remodeling. When you remodel a kitchen or a bathroom, many times you'll find where there's been long-term leaks and mold. When you disturb that mold, it sporulates, it goes everywhere, and I always recommend people have the home sterilized to keep from having problems with mold. Here in Houston, we've all heard the stories, and we all know how dangerous mold can be.
Vaughan, you also you were talking about with Sean's stuff. One of the things that I run into with working with clients a lot of times is they'll buy a brand new home, and all of those inherent smells that come along with that, with the paint, if the builder didn't use the low VOC paint, then the carpeting, if they've got that, always has some kind of odor associated with it. It's just those construction smells that go along. Chemicals, exactly. And so I have clients that children, they do have asthmatic children or allergy issues. Does the process that you use take care of that type of issue as well?
Oh, absolutely. I get rid of outgassing from paints, varnishes, carpet glue, adhesives. After Katrina, I actually treated cars to get rid of gasoline was spilled in cars. In many cases, people carrying gasoline in containers that were not approved, gas spilling in cars. I've gotten diesel out of boats. I've gotten diesel out of high-rises where they were going to run diesel to run the generators after a hurricane. They dumped a 30-gallon barrel of diesel down an elevator shaft and didn't know how to get rid of the horrible smells from the fuel. So it's very powerful, yet it's EPA green-friendly. It's absolutely safe to use, and it's not expensive. Like I said before, $550 to larger homes over 4,000 square feet, or if they're outside of the city, can be a little more. And you can reach me at cleanair.com. It's CLEANEAIR.com. My number's 832-276-6000. And I'll go out and I'll look at a home for you at no charge to let you know if you have a problem and what is the seriousness of the problem.
And what's the average time frame it takes? Let's say, for example, and the reason why I'm asking because I'm actually interested for my home. But, what's the average time frame it would take for you to go and treat a home?
Most homes I can treat in 8 hours, and people and pets need to be out of the home during treatment. But most of them are 8 hours. If I've got a real problem, a house that there's been 20 cats in for 20 years, or somebody's been doing a lot of heavy smoking in a home, which I do a lot, sometimes they can take more time. But I offer a guarantee, a 12-month guarantee on my work. So if you feel an odor has come back or you have a problem, I will retreat a home at no additional charge.
You might want to add one thing in there, as long as you don't reintroduce the smell back into the house.
That's right.
Because if you have cat odors and then you bring the cat back, you can't do that. You're bringing it back in.
That's right.
Well, Tish, you had mentioned the VOCs for our audience, volatile organic chemicals. And these are common in paints and new furniture and a lot of the new smells that we like because it's that new smell are actually dangerous chemicals.
Yeah, they're all carcinogens.
Yeah, all carcinogens, and they cause all sorts of problems down the road. And this is stuff that your service addresses.
Absolutely, and it's great to be on the show today with all of you.
It's another break.
Up against another break. Man, time flies when you're having fun and giving a lot of good information out. Vaughan, thanks a lot for being on today.
Thank you.
For all those listening, we're coming up against a break right now, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. You know, this is one of those great shows. We have a lot of good information in there. Obviously, we talked about home staging. We've talked about home improvement. We talked about clean air. You know, and now what we're going to be really talking about is what ties all this together at the very end of the day, and how do we know sometimes that all this work is done correctly, efficiently, effectively, and meets a lot of codes. And for that, obviously, we've got Ashley in the studio right now. Ashley, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
Man,
Outstanding.
doing great.
Well, and also,
As always.
also worth mentioning, a relatively new sponsor to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show.
Yes, absolutely.
Woohoo! We always work with the best here as for our sponsors, and that's one thing that for our listeners, you guys can know. A lot of the folks that we have on the show, well, not a lot, all of the folks we have on the show, between the godfather of real estate over here and Mr. Kelso over there, the maestro of mortgage, and myself, the
king of credit swing.
We know quite a lot of folks in the real estate industry. Multiple thousands. So we have the fortunate opportunity to work with and get to know the experts in the industry. So everybody we have on our show are folks that we've gotten to know and we trust, and we know their expertise and that type of thing. So you can always feel comfortable in consulting with them and appreciating the value that they can bring to you guys.
Which is why we can work without a script. You know, we don't have to have a script.
Yeah,
we've got people who know what they're talking about.
You know, it's funny that the listeners, you guys, you would never know. So many of the guests that come on our show are a ball of nerves before they come on the show, and when we try to tell them, but they soon figured out during the show. We're like, look, we're just going to be talking to you about what you know a whole lot about. So as soon as we start asking questions about their expertise, they kind of relax, and they're like, oh, yeah, I actually know all this
except
stuff.
for poor Bobby.
Yes, Bobby was still a mess. But anyway, we love Bobby. Bobby with Guillen Homes.
Yes.
Anyway, so moving into that, you know, one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask, since we have both of you guys in the studio, and it does make sense to ask, was this that, you know, when you do a project, Shane, or you are coming in behind somebody, you know, to fix a project, that type of thing, do you see a lot of people that are, you know, well, for lack of better words, violating codes or being unconcerned about codes? And how often is an inspector involved in those kind of projects to make sure that what they are doing is up to code?
Oh, I see that all the time. A lot of times people will go in and or quote unquote contractors will, excuse me for that.
Emphasis.
They'll totally bypass the whole permit part of the process, because that is a true pain in this industry, because you actually have to have somebody come by.
Or pain in somewhere else. But
right. You actually have to have someone coming by and inspecting the work that's going on. And in that, what I've found, and it's funny, me and Ashley Bowles was talking about it earlier, it is crucial for any type of large project that the contractor's working on a draw basis, where he'll get a specified amount down, and throughout the process he will ask for draws. It's crucial to have a qualified inspector like Ashley Bowles to come in, who's going to advocate for the homeowner, not the contractor, because you don't want to just take the contractor's word for it. Well, I got this done, I got that done, and now I need another $3,000 or $4,000. You need a qualified inspector to inspect the work.
Yes.
And you know, Rob, maybe this is something you can chime in on, because I don't know, but if you do a project where, you know, code violations and that thing can come in, so you know you're doing a project and they don't involve an Ashley and they get it knocked out, and now, you know, a year later, 2 years later, they go to sell the house and the inspector comes in and there are kind of code violations. Rob, do you see that kind of stuff
actually,
out there?
Even on the seller's disclosure, which is a state required document, every residential home has to have a full seller's disclosure. There's a couple exceptions, you know, through divides and things like that. But they actually ask you, have you done any work without a permit?
Oh.
As one of the very first things that are going to be on your seller's disclosure. So it's very important that you are working with somebody who understands the permitting process. Now, Ashley, you're unique in the fact that you're an inspector, but you also used to do a lot of remodeling, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And-
I had my own construction company for a while when I first came down here to Texas. And one of the biggest things about getting a remodel done, or a major remodel, when the homeowner has the actual building plans, if you have the original blueprints, that can make your remodel so much easier. It's almost like a dream to have them, especially if you are the contractor. That way you know exactly where the structural walls are, what's all tying the house together, where certain things are. And like I say, you can find a lot of those documents down at your city hall and stuff like that, and they have those prints on file. So that is a good idea if you can acquire those before you start your major renovations.
Awesome.
And so in the process, how many people from a remodeling standpoint actually have you come in and inspect the work? Do you have that happen often?
Not as often as I would like.
Probably not as often as you should.
It may not. It may not be on people's radar screens, like Shane was talking about. It's that they've been working with this remodeler for a while, and they kind of take them at their word that they're doing it correctly. But even on a new construction home, I always recommend bring an inspector in there, because even though Shane is a great contractor, sometimes his contractors, he might miss something. It actually helps him do his work, and so he knows he's given a quality job, to have a third party come in and say, hey, you know what, this is not into code, or this is the wrong, you actually have to have it in some framing things. You got to make sure that lumber sizes match and things of that nature. Then sometimes that gets missed.
Oh,
well,
most definitely.
Let's face it. I mean, your industry is a lot like mine in that there's a low cost of entry.
Right.
So that translates to, in my industry, somebody saying, "Oh, my credit's jacked up. I'm gonna get on the internet and read about how do I send in letters, and oh wow, I had some good results, so I'm gonna talk about it. Now my family member, my cousin wants me to do it for him. And next thing you know, I'm a credit expert, and I'm taking people's money to do the job." Not too unlike, in the home remodeling job. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot to buy a hammer and a saw and get out there and start calling yourself a contractor.
And you can always get your brother-in-law to do it.
So you can end up with some well-intentioned people who, it may have had in the past some good results, but the test of an expert isn't, doing the project, putting the door in good and doing that one time and that type of thing. The test of an expert is when things go wrong, and how well you handle problem situations and that type of thing. The things you don't know, we have these shows regularly here, what you don't know can hurt you, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know that it's out of code to put a cat door in the exterior garage door, not that I've done that, you don't know that you're creating big problems down the road. So you may have somebody who's good with a hammer and a saw, and they've done a few brother-in-law projects, that type of thing, and you've hired that person, and they don't know that they're doing code violations. They don't know that they're not doing stuff that's up to code, because it's not on their radar. They don't know what they don't know.
And speaking of construction, and Ashley, this is one thing I think it's important for everybody to know. Whether you are buying a new home, okay, or you're remodeling, most people don't realize is having a home inspector doing that process, and I'm using a new home that's being built from the ground up, is very important, because a lot of times these big builders, even some of these smaller builders, as Rob was saying, they're using contractors. They're using third-party individuals to come in from the foundation all the way to the sticks, to the the walls, cabinetry, et cetera, et cetera. You can go in there and inspect that entire process to ensure that that home is being built to code and matching everything, correct?
Oh, yes, most definitely, and that brings up a good point, because right now you have a lot of your home builders building new homes. So instead of them having two guys on staff that are managing 5 to 10 jobs apiece, now they're looking after 30. So if you're one man looking after 30 projects that are in different stages of the building process, it's much easier to miss stuff. Not that you're intentionally missing it, but you have so many people working on those projects at different times that it's inevitable that something is going to get missed eventually.
The Peter principle kicks in at that point.
Right.
You really can't manage more than 15 people effectively.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
I want to understand that Ashley is a Texas Real Estate Commission licensed inspector. They have to go through a lot. And I used Ashley the other day on a house over in the Heights I sold. And he had to do a crawl underneath this house and things like that. And we found things on this house that I don't think the previous or the current owner knew. And it was incredible. I mean, it it truly was. He was so thorough and observant about things. I was very, very impressed on how good he was at what he does.
Well, shameless plug for our sponsors.
No,
again,
it's a fact.
We don't bring we say this all the time on the show. We're silly, we're goofy, we tongue in cheek humor, all this sort of thing, and that's to me is the only way to live life. But at the same time, everybody we bring on this show truly is an expert at what they do, and that's just another example. Ashley is an awesome at what he does, and that's why we have allowed him to be a sponsor on the show.
And we're coming up to the lightning round right now. 2 minutes to go, so in 20 seconds or less, do me a favor. I want to go around the room. Everybody let us know what's the one thing you want our listener base to leave with today as far as home improvement. Vaughn, we'll start with you.
Protect your health, protect your home.
I like that. Protect your health, protect your home, and protect yourself.
Yeah.
That's not a bad one either right there.
Ensure that the people that you hire are truly the professionals that they purport themselves to be. Double check and check their backgrounds, and then triple check again just to make sure.
I would just like to have people do a little bit of research when they're getting their homes worked on, check on the contractor, check their background. Also, when you get a lowball bid, find out what kind of materials they're using.
Wow.
There's a reason it was low.
Yeah.
Rob?
Well, that's a great thing to talk about. If it seems to be too good to be true, it is.
It is.
So, do some background check. It's your home. It's your investment. Make sure you do get qualified people in your home.
How about you, Joe?
I have a good one for you. When you're doing all these projects, don't run your credit up and get a bunch of those, Home Depot 10% off credit cards and all that sort of thing. Be credit aware, credit smart when you're doing these kind of projects.
We've mentioned Home Depot twice. Can I invoice them now?
Yes.
Exactly,
Okay,
right?
excellent.
And my words is, use an expert, what we have on the show, on the Real Estate Rat Pack show, and make sure you consider everything with the financial sense you need to make sure you do. Keep the financial sense out there. Again, for all these individuals, go out to the Real Estate Rat Pack show. You can find us anytime. Until next time, have a great week.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, that right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.